So can I reflect back to you two things about what you just said? First thing is, let's go back to the wheel of deception for a minute. And I think most people who would pay attention to this call are familiar with it. So I'm not going to go into all of it, but I just want to say that in terms of hiding our truth from us or mind controlling us from our truth, which is really just a distraction. It's all distractions. The whole wheel of deception is distraction and trauma. And it happens on many levels, the cellular level, the energetic level, all the levels you just spoke about, Lily, in terms of the toxins and in terms of our environment and what we're eating, the food system, the electromagnetic smog, all of that affects us. So it's not just a mental distraction, it's very much a physical distraction and a very much a wearing down of the human energetic system so that we're clogged and bogged, and we have these vehicles, our bodies, which can weigh us down, and our bodies affect us mentally and emotionally as well because of the gut-brain connection. So when we're sluggish and clogged and bogged and full of toxins, that affects our brain. It affects our moods, our depression, our ability to cope, our ability to really uncover the truth of who we really are. We're not operating effectively. So I just want to say that about the wheel of deception and the big, huge distraction that it is on all of those levels that keep us from the truth of who we really are.
It's about holding up to your own morals.
Yeah.
And so everyone, even though it was a public invitation, everyone that came on that call knew or felt, or on a spirit level knew, even if not consciously, on the subconscious level, because the intent was set, it couldn't. There is no misunderstandings on those levels, deep energetic levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every one of us that stepped into that call, stepped into the intent of that call. And then, of course, that's going to affect everyone in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
One of us, right? Every one of us is a creator being. And that's what ultimately we were igniting.
Yeah.
That was the intent, to ignite your true self, your true potential. And so for that to happen, right, Christine, for that to happen, you have to face yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way, and in my case with some of the people that were on that call, those people knew me for years. Yeah. This is not that they didn't know, they just happened to be there. We knew what it was building up. And so energetically, everyone was there knew that they would be standing in self-responsibility because they are self-generating, self-operating.
Mm-hmm.
Their own self within that call. And so self-generating, self-operating, and self-responsible. And so all of those things just became obvious and clear and transparent to everyone else.
Yeah.
So everyone showed up kind of naked.
Yeah. It was a very revealing. Yeah, it was quite revealing, and it was sad. I mean, you know, you are obviously a human being with feelings and emotions, and you love those people, and you spend a lot of time working with those people, and it was a betrayal. It was a total betrayal. of all of that relationship and a public betrayal, which is why, you know, afterwards, I reached out to you and I said, I know what that feels like when that happens, and we are human beings. So you can't choose, okay, in this moment, these energies are coming at me, and, you know, you're going, if you didn't feel all the emotions that you felt in that moment, if you didn't feel whatever you felt, I'm not going to speak for you, but if it was me, I would have been angry. I would have been heartbroken. I would have been a little bit mortified. I would have been, you know, all of those things. And they're all perfectly fine to feel. And there was some responses that happened in that call, like anger and so on, not from you specifically, but, and they were all very valid, very valid. And people that can express those emotions in the moment without attachment to what people think of them are very empowered people. It's one thing to deliberately lash out at somebody and try to create chaos, and another thing to have an appropriate response to chaos or to somebody doing something to you. So there's a very big differentiation in there. And when we don't act how we really feel, we're not being truthful to ourselves. We're not being truthful in the moment. It's like a bypass. It's like, well, if I have to pretend that I'm, you know, more aware than this, or I'm not affected by this, I'm pretending to myself. And that is harmful to me. I'm going to carry that in myself. It's a pretend that doesn't belong, right? So, and that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that they look up to certain people like you, or people that do writing or calls or whatever, and they think these people have it all worked out, and they're all perfect, and they don't have emotions like that. They get affected by others, and that's just simply not true. And if it were true, we'd all be in more of a mess than we are now, because if we can't show up as true human beings with the full range of emotions, what is the freaking purpose?
Exactly. Right? What is the purpose? If you are moving towards becoming your true self, what is the purpose? To first fake it. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you were saying and calling it as being it fake or faking it. And right before that, I was talking about faking it. And I said, you know, if you're still faking it, you didn't make it. I even posted a post before that. Right. It was a message for everybody, including myself. Yep. Because I myself, I'm going through this. I'm just doing it with other people. I just chosen to do it publicly, sort of, to share my awakening process and my process of reclaiming my sovereignty as a creator being here. That's what I chose to do. I chose to do this with other people, not to teach people how to be, how to pretend better, because I was never interested in that game of
a guru.
Whatever, these people, whatever the competition, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whatever the competition energy.
Yep. Yep.
It's threading. As long as it's competition energy, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
It's a fine line, right? It's a fine line, because you want to be respectful, but I think, you know, if we can really dig deep enough, we can see that, in fact, sometimes when we're meaning to be helpful, or we're meaning to be compassionate towards another person, there may still be another layer there to get beneath that we could do a better job of uncovering. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the layers and what you were talking about, that what's happening currently is a very interesting situation. Just like what was happening with Standing Rock protests.
Yep.
And this is what I spoke up then a little bit. I got in a lot of pickle speaking up about that, because again, and I'm so glad to have you on this talk. I'm so glad, because you're absolutely right. What we're seeing right now, like I said, it's only one little tiny speck.
Yeah.
There is so many more layers underneath. There's so many more layers. And I think what I'm gonna say right now is just because you nailed it. You nailed it with the victim perpetrator that goes all the way. And if we go back to the wheel of deception, it all of it is anchored within that imposter God source. That is the source of the matrix. It's the imposter God, archon, whatever name people want to have for it. It is the God of Abrahamic religions. And this is the layer, I think, and even what is happening through trauma to us on a psychological level, the layer of spiritual trauma that is being inflicted on humanity with the imposter God program and the humans that are implementing. Right now, at this moment in time, we're standing with an external reality that we're all watching in front of our faces, and what's being unraveled is the abuse, mind control, and a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse, and all of that stuff. But what we're saying is there is deeper abuse that is happening. There's spiritual abuse that is happening, and we're experiencing that even in our conversation. And that's why we talked today a little bit about group conversations when you do energetic work, and how the abuse is on every level, how spiritually abused people perpetrate the same crimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know that there's very few people out there in alternative communities, spiritual communities, that are talking about the foundation of this control system. And this is the victim, perpetrator, trauma-based mind control that is affecting humanity on every level.
And the savior.
And this is why I say, am I different than most people? I know I've been different. I know I am different since I was a kid, young kid. But the more I grow up, the more I see that there is a lot more people that are truly awakened and are looking for collaboration and co-creation in spirit, in that which we were called to do. This is why we create, this is why we express our creative spirit, right? And we do what we do creatively for humanity. It's because it's like a calling, right, Christine? It's like a calling. When you know the truth, you want to speak the truth, because you know the value of the truth. Because you know the value of you, yourself, going through the path of awakening to recognize the truth within.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, like, what is the truth? What is truth really? And, you know, so because people, it's kind of elusive to people who haven't experienced it. So for me, the way that I think of truth is really, it's about freedom, and it's about joy, and it's about awareness. So truth is all of those things. The truth is beauty. Truth is music. real music. So this is what truth is. So when we talk about expressing our truth, really what we're saying is we're in alignment with our freedom and with our joy, and we've uncovered our who we really are. We've been able to access our eternal being that is alive and comes from life, the life source, so you call source. And so when we're in alignment with that truth, the only truth, the source that we are, all of the other stuff that we're talking about is what is not truth, is what has covered up the truth, is the stories that we believe that we are, the archetypes, the roles, the unconsciousness that we have been participating in because of the conditioning and belief systems that we've been raised with and that are so abundant in our communities and in our collective trauma. We've all been traumatized. We've all been victimized. We've all been under these indoctrinations and belief systems from birth, and generational trauma, generational patterns that have been handed down, none of which is the truth and the beauty and the source of life and the eternal beingness that we are. So when we're talking about, accessing the truth, it really is about knowing ourselves, knowing who we really are. And it sounds so simple to say it for some people, and it also sounds hard for other people when they hear that, because some people have really no idea who they really are because they're identified with the traumas. They're identified with the roles that they've been playing. They receive sustenance, or they receive excuses. I don't know if that makes sense. They live on these archetypes that are made up of stories, of patterns, and they believe they're victims, for example, of something, and then that victimhood, they live into that. It becomes who they are.
Because at the bottom what I just said, it is the victim, perpetrator, psychological, psychic, and etheric game.
Yep. Recognize that that the energy was present, that this was something that came through that situation, and so it affected a lot of people very deeply. And what I was trying to say on that call, because I recognized the energy as soon as it showed up, I saw that energy show up, and I saw the chaos that happened and how people were affected and what was happening. But the bigger purpose of that call in general, and what you were trying to present in that call, and what Felicia was trying to present in that call, and I had no idea what you guys were trying to do at the time. I just saw how the energy came in and messed with it and like scattered everything. So what I was trying to say in that call was that, we have the ability to withstand anything, really, so much. We have the ability, if we can have an awareness of where we are, who we are, what we are in each moment. So we can see these things coming. I've seen energies come through other people directed specifically at me, people like my mother, people who are close to me, who I have seen energy come through. And if I didn't have an awareness of who I really am and how powerful I am and how I choose in every moment what my next moment is going to be like, if I didn't have an awareness of that, these things would be harmful to me, would take me out potentially, or make me also go into that negative energy space and start lashing out or doing whatever. So in that moment on that call when things went kind of funny, I was trying to say that, you know, we have the ability as, you know, aware beings, as people who can just be aware in moment to moment of everything that's going on, what the energy is, what the person's saying, what the purpose of it is, why we're here in the first place, have an awareness of all those things, and then choose what to do moment to moment in that space. And the highest intention always wins. This is what I said on that call, and Og really liked that because it's the truth. The highest intention always wins. So we have a choice whether we're going to get sucked into something, whether we're going to play out patterns and archetypes, and we're going to go into negativity, and we're going to, you know, play those stories that people are attacking us with, or we can stand our ground and we can stand for who we really are and what we're actually capable of, and within that determine and decide and act or not act on what's happening. So we had a choice in that moment. Are we going to get involved? Are we going to let it, you know, bother us? Or are we going to observe and not say anything at all? Or can we get things back on track? And it's just, you know, and so that's just one example on that call, but it happens in every instance, in every moment, like family dinners, road rage, you know, in every moment we have the choice to take the highest alternative.